Evan Hale landed his small transport pod on the red sands of the remote desert planet, the heat of the twin suns warming his skin even through his suit. The planet had been largely abandoned by human explorers centuries ago, but a small colony still survived, descendants of Apache people who had left Earth long before the wars. They had blended their traditions with advanced technology, creating a unique life that honored the past while embracing the future. Evan had come on a simple mission: repair the colony's communication arrays, check on their energy generators, and leave. Nothing more. As he stepped out of the pod, the settlement sprawled before him. Low, domed homes built from a combination of local minerals and transparent composites dotted the canyon floor. Wind turbines, solar panels, and strange energy beacons blended into the rocky landscape. But what drew his attention most were the people. They moved with calm, purposeful steps, eyes alert, and hands busy with tools or devices. Evan felt the gentle weight of being watched, yet he sensed no hostility. He started walking toward the nearest structure, scanning the terrain. That's when he saw her. An older woman struggled with a malfunctioning hauler, the large cargo vehicle groaning and shaking. Sparks flew from the engine as she tried to stabilize it. Her robes, bright in the desert sun, fluttered in the wind. Suddenly, the machine shuddered violently, and one of its stabilizers snapped, sending it tipping dangerously close to her. Evan ran without thinking, leaping into the sand and grabbing a control panel just as the hauler threatened to topple. With a few quick adjustments and a well-aimed kick, he stabilized the vehicle. The woman looked at him with wide eyes. "You saved me," she said simply, her voice a mix of awe and relief. "I'm just doing what anyone would," Evan replied, brushing dust from his suit. He had spent his life in war zones and dangerous missions, but the satisfaction of helping someone without expectation was different. She introduced herself as Nayeli. Her eyes were sharp, and there was a wisdom about her that made Evan feel simultaneously nervous and at ease. "I owe you my life," she said. "Please come with me. There is much to discuss." Curious and careful, Evan followed her through narrow paths between rocky ridges until they reached her home. It was simple, yet elegant, blending natural stone with advanced technology. Inside, she offered him water and a place to rest. While Evan sipped, Nayeli watched him closely. "I have been observing you since you landed," she said. Her voice was calm, but there was a weight in her words. "You are not like the others who come here. You are honest, and you have courage. But you also have respect. That is rare." Evan shifted uneasily. "I'm only here to help, that's all." She smiled. "Help is not the only thing I noticed." She paused, and then said something that made Evan freeze. "I heard you want a wife. My daughter is perfect for you." Evan blinked, unsure if he had heard correctly. He looked at her, trying to find a trace of jest. There was none. "My daughter," he repeated. I don't even know her." "She knows enough," Nayeli said calmly. "She knows who you are. She knows what you do. And she watches how you act." Before Evan could respond, the door opened and a young woman stepped in. She moved with a quiet strength, her eyes calm but curious. Her dark hair framed a face that was both strong and intelligent. Evan felt a strange pull in his chest, a mixture of awe and uncertainty. "This is Ayanna," Nayeli said, her gaze warm but firm. "She will speak for herself." Ayanna studied Evan quietly. She didn't speak immediately. Her gaze was steady, examining him as if trying to measure his character without words. Finally, she nodded slightly. "I know why you helped my mother," she said softly. "You didn't have to. That matters." Evan felt a flush rise to his face. "I didn't do it for recognition," he said truthfully. I I couldn't let her get hurt. Exactly, Ayanna said, a small smile forming. And that is why I am willing to listen to what you have to say. But understand this. Nothing is forced here. You will not be judged. You will be seen. Evan didn't fully understand, but he nodded. There was something in her presence that felt like clarity. It was the first time in a long time that he felt someone truly looked at him, not as a soldier, not as a stranger, but as a person. Over the next few hours, they walked together through the settlement. The people watched from a distance, curious but respectful. Ayanna explained how the colony worked, showing him the energy farms, the living quarters, and even the old canyon ruins where their ancestors had first landed. She spoke with knowledge, but also with a touch of pride. Evan noticed the way she commanded attention without raising her voice, how people moved around her with trust and respect. Evan, in turn, told her about his life, not in detail, for he was cautious, but enough to let her see his past, his losses, and his desire to find a place where he could belong. Ayanna listened, never interrupting, nodding or asking questions when it felt right. By evening, they returned to Nayeli's home. The sky had turned a deep orange, and the twin suns cast long shadows across the desert. Nayeli prepared a simple meal, and they ate together quietly. Evan could feel the tension in the room, but it was not uncomfortable. It was the tension of possibility, of choices waiting to be made. After the meal, Nayeli spoke again. Tomorrow, you will choose. Not whether you want my daughter, but whether you want to stay here, with us, with her. And you will do so freely. That is our way, Evan swallowed. I don't know if I'm ready to decide. You need not rush, Nayeli said. But tomorrow will come, and the choice will be yours. Only yours. Ayanna knows this as well. She will be by your side, not to push but to understand. Evan nodded, feeling the weight of responsibility pressing on him. He understood that this was more than a simple offer of companionship. This was trust. This was an invitation into a life he had never imagined, and he could not take it lightly. As night fell, Evan stood outside under the desert sky. The stars shone brilliantly, clearer than he had ever seen from Earth or any colony. He thought of his life so far, the battles, the solitude, the endless moving from one mission to another. And now, here, he felt something new, possibility, a chance to belong, to grow, and to connect in ways he had never allowed himself to hope for. Inside, Ayanna sat quietly, reflecting on the day. She had never met a human like him, so honest, so unassuming, so aware of his actions. She felt a strange admiration and curiosity growing in her chest. He had saved her mother, yes, but more importantly, he had acted without expectation or pride. That mattered to her more than anything else. As the night deepened, Evan realized that this was only the beginning. Tomorrow would bring a choice, yes, but it was not just about choosing a companion. It was about understanding, about trust, and about the merging of two worlds. And as he watched the twin moons rise over the canyon, he felt a small, cautious hope that perhaps this strange, distant world and the people who lived here might finally feel like home. He returned to his quarters with a sense of anticipation. He had never faced a decision like this. In all his missions, all his battles, none had required understanding, patience, and honesty in such a delicate way. Yet, he knew that if he acted with the same care and respect he had shown today, perhaps he could navigate what was to come. And for the first time in a long while, Evan Hale slept without fear, under alien stars that seemed to promise something extraordinary. The next morning, Evan woke before dawn. The desert was quiet, the twin suns just beginning to rise behind the rocky ridges, casting long golden shadows over the settlement. Today was the day he would face the choice Nayeli had spoken of. But as he dressed, he felt no fear. Instead, there was a sense of calm purpose. He had spent the night thinking, imagining what life might be like here. And for the first time, he realized that perhaps he wanted more than just a mission or a place to rest. Ayanna was waiting outside, as if she had known he would rise early. Her dark eyes reflected the first light of the sun's, and she smiled softly when she saw him. "You're awake," she said simply. "I couldn't sleep," Evan admitted. "Too many thoughts." "Good," she said. "We need to talk, walk, and understand before any choice is made." They began to walk toward the canyon that lay beyond the settlement. This canyon was sacred to her people, a place of reflection and clarity. Tall walls of rock rose on either side, their surfaces etched with carvings left by their ancestors. Some depicted warriors, others showed daily life, and some seemed to tell stories that Evan could not yet understand. But there was a quiet majesty to it, a sense of history and strength that made his chest tighten. As they walked, Ayanna spoke. "I want you to understand our ways. We honor courage, honesty, and respect. It is not enough to be brave in battle. It is not enough to survive. One must act with integrity and thought for others. Today you will show who you are, not in words, but in actions." Evan nodded. "I will do my best." They reached a narrow plateau that overlooked the desert. The suns were now higher, casting a golden light over the sands and rocky formations below. Ayanna gestured to the view. "Everything you see here has survived because of balance. Life here is fragile, but strong. The same applies to choices. They must be weighed carefully, not rushed." They sat together in silence for a while, simply watching the wind shift the sands and the distant shadows move across the canyons. Evan found a sense of peace here that he had never known. For years, he had moved from mission to mission, rarely stopping to appreciate life itself. Now, he was beginning to see it differently. Suddenly, a tremor ran through the canyon floor. Dust rose from the distance, and Evan immediately stood, scanning the area. A mining drone, old and malfunctioning, had collapsed part of the cliff face, sending rocks tumbling dangerously close to them. Without thinking, Evan grabbed Ayanna's arm and pulled her back. "Stay close!" he shouted as a boulder rolled past. Ayanna, calm but alert, extended her hands toward the falling debris. Strange energy tools in her palms activated, stabilizing the rock just enough for them to pass safely. Once they were out of danger, they stood panting, looking at each other. Evan's heart was still racing, but he felt a strange exhilaration. "You're incredible," he said. "And you are brave," she replied. "But more than that, you care. That is what matters." They continued walking, their connection growing with each step. Evan realized that Ayanna's admiration was not for his strength alone, but for the honesty and humility behind his actions. Likewise, she had shown him that strength could come in many forms, not just in weapons or technology, but in thought, skill, and heart. Back at the settlement, Nayeli had prepared a small space for them to reflect. She said nothing, letting them sit together in quiet contemplation. The community watched from a distance, respectful of the choice unfolding before them. Evan finally spoke. "Ayanna, I don't know what the future holds. I've lived my life moving from place to place, fighting battles that often had no meaning. But here, I feel something I've never felt before. A chance to belong, to grow, to be more than just a soldier. And I think I want to stay." Ayanna's eyes softened. "I felt the same when I saw how you acted yesterday. You protected my mother without pride or expectation. You listened to me and respected our ways. That is why I am willing to open myself to this, to explore what we might have together." Evan took a deep breath. "Then, Will you stay with me? Not because it is expected, but because you want to? I will, she said firmly, yet with a gentle warmth. Nayeli, standing quietly in the doorway, smiled. Then the choice is made, but it is only the beginning. A bond is not just a word or a promise. It is action, trust, and respect. You will learn from each other. You will protect and support, and you will grow together. The community gathered to witness the bond. It was not a ceremony of marriage, but of mutual respect and intent. Ayanna and Evan stood before their people, hands close but not forced together. They spoke little, letting their actions and commitment convey more than words ever could. The settlement seemed to hum with quiet approval. In the following days, Evan began to integrate into the community. He trained with the colony's warriors, learning techniques adapted to the desert terrain and advanced technology. He discovered that combat was not just about force, but about strategy, understanding the environment, and anticipating the unexpected. His human skills blended well with their advanced tools, earning him respect among the younger warriors. Meanwhile, Ayanna guided him through the colony's systems, energy grids, water reclamation, and ancient ruins with untapped technology. She explained not just how things worked, but why. Her people valued understanding, and she expected Evan to absorb both the function and the philosophy behind it. Evan listened, learned, and sometimes stumbled, but always with honesty and effort. Ayanna admired his dedication and humility. Their relationship developed naturally. They ate together, walked the canyons, and studied the stars at night. Conversations flowed easily, sometimes serious, sometimes light. Evan taught her about Earth, about human life and history, and she shared stories of their ancestors, their journey from Earth, and the principles that guided them. Slowly, trust and friendship deepened into something more profound. One evening, they climbed to a high ridge to watch the twin suns set. The sky blazed with color, red, gold, and violet merging across the horizon. Evan looked at Ayanna and realized that he had never felt more alive, more certain of a path he wanted to walk. "I never thought I would find a place like this," he said quietly. "A world that feels like it was waiting for me." "Perhaps it was," Ayanna replied. "Or perhaps we were both waiting for the right person to arrive. Someone who could see, not just act, who could understand, not just survive." Evan took her hand, and she did not pull away. It was a small gesture, simple but full of meaning. They did not need words to explain what it meant. They both felt it deeply. The days turned into weeks. Together they explored ancient ruins, repaired old machinery, and strengthened the colony's defenses. Evan's presence brought new energy to the community, while Ayanna's knowledge and leadership guided his efforts. They complemented each other perfectly, a balance of human determination and Apache-descended ingenuity. One morning, a new threat appeared. A rogue sandstorm, stronger than any in recent memory, moving toward the settlement faster than predicted. The colony's early warning systems had detected it, but the strength of the storm could overwhelm their defenses. Evan and Ayanna worked side by side, coordinating energy shields, securing homes, and guiding people to safety. Evan climbed to the highest points to reinforce barriers, while Ayanna directed energy flows to stabilize weak points. Their teamwork saved lives, and the community witnessed firsthand how their bond created strength greater than either alone. After the storm passed, the settlement gathered to celebrate not just survival, but unity. Nayeli spoke, her voice proud and warm. "You see what is possible when trust, courage, and respect come together. Not just between two people, but for all of us. Today we are stronger because of both of you." Evan looked at Ayanna, her eyes shining with quiet pride. "We've done this together," he said. "Yes," she replied, smiling. and we will continue to do so. Not because it is easy, but because it is right. As the twin moons rose that night, casting silver light over the desert, Evan felt a sense of belonging unlike anything he had ever known. He had found a home, a partner, and a purpose that went beyond orders or missions. Here, among these people and with Ayanna by his side, he could grow, learn, and create a future built on trust and understanding. Ayanna stood beside him, looking at the horizon. "The future is ours to shape," she said softly. "We will face challenges, yes, but together, and that makes all the difference." Evan nodded, feeling the weight and beauty of her words. He reached for her hand again, this time more confidently, and she intertwined her fingers with his. They did not speak, for no words were necessary. The desert stretched endlessly before them, filled with possibility, adventure, and the quiet promise of a life built on choice, respect, and courage. And so, under the light of twin moons, the human soldier and the Apache-descended woman stood together, ready to face whatever the universe had in store. A bond had been formed, not out of obligation, but out of understanding, honesty, and shared purpose. The colony watched, inspired, knowing that sometimes the meeting of two worlds could create something stronger, brighter, and more enduring than anything imagined before. In that quiet moment, with stars scattered across the sky and the gentle wind brushing against their faces, Evan and Ayanna began a new chapter, not just for themselves, but for everyone around them. A chapter that would bring change, hope, and a reminder that even in a vast universe, connection, courage, and respect could create miracles. The story of the human who came to a distant world and the woman who chose him was only beginning, but already it had become legend in the hearts of those who watched, and in the hearts of those who believed in the power of understanding, trust, and the quiet strength of humanity.